Hey guys, in this video we are painting the little summer gnome. Hold on, sorry. Make sure you have your board out and ready. I just had to go I colored up a little sketch of what I kind of hope it's gonna look like. I mean, I use crayons. It will definitely look a little different painted, but this is what I'm hoping to achieve. So bear with me, this is the first time I'm painting it. I've got some colors here. I think this is what I'm going to be needing. So get a little bit scooped out on your plate. I have probably way more than what I need. A jar of water or a cup or whatever to keep water in so you can clean out your brushes easily, and then just make sure you have an assortment of brush sizes. You're also gonna need paper towels to dry your brushes when you're across the room. I set up a different table today, so all my stuff's on the other table. I had stuff in the way, so I thought it would just be easier to be over on this table. I just didn't think ahead to get all my stuff around. Okay, so I got my paper towel, and now let me begin. I do believe I am going to start with the ground, like the sand area. Typically on the wood, I don't really do a background, but I felt like he needed to be sitting on something. So let's see how this actually relates onto the wood. Like, it looks fine on a piece of paper with crayons, but it might be a little different on this. Fingers crossed this turns out super cute. So I'm gonna mix up a color for my sand, and I'm gonna take a little bit of this burnt orange, it's called Venetian red, and I'm gonna stir it in with quite a lot of white. And you're gonna wanna mix up a fair amount of this. So you don't wanna have to make more. I did add a little bit more in. More white, more white. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. My hand tends to get in the way, I know, I'm sorry. But something about like that, you don't want it super light, but you don't want it dark either. And with a little bit of paint on my brush at a time, I didn't draw the line in, so let's put it in. Let's be about right here. And I guess about here. And I'm missing a little bit here. So his beard comes here. I'm just gonna go in and fill in everything around. I don't need to be super, super careful. And this is gonna need a few coats. I should be using a bigger brush, at least for the bigger areas. So just nice, thin, even coat of paint. It's gonna be streaky and not look the best first round, but don't worry. By the second or third coat, it should be better. So I do have this little handle here. It's probably gonna be a pain to paint around, but I'm going to, because I think you guys would appreciate having that line. And I'll just go back in with a smaller brush and fill in that little cranny there. smaller brush to get around those little toes right there. If you get a little messy on the little starfish, that's okay, because we can touch that up with the color we paint that later. Okay, so I've got a base coat on. I'm gonna go in with my smaller brush, get in the little nooks that I missed. So right here, got a little spot around the toes. And up here, I'm gonna need another coat. So this does dry fairly quickly on the wood. Before you go in to do another coat, just make sure that it's dry. Otherwise, it's gonna peel the paint off and you're gonna have a mess. Oh, this little. So I'm just gonna leave like a very thin space where that line is for the handle, just so I can see where that handle needs to be. And it's gonna look a little wonky right now, but once we get it painted, it'll look a lot better. Okay, so I can go back in with my bigger brush and my dry areas. That's not dry. Look at that. That looks terrible. Let me blow it dry. There, now I can be sure that it's dry. Just thin, even coat of paint. And as you can see, this coat is starting to cover quite a bit better. Hopefully by the third coat will be good. I think the third coat, this is very, looks very peachy to me. I think on my third coat, I am going to add a little bit of yellow into this color, help it look a little bit more sand colored. This is like pink sand. But I'm just gonna stick with this for now, and I'll show you how to mix up the other color when this coat is dry and I get all my little nooks and crannies filled. Smaller brush. And blow it dry. lot right there. I just want to get that one more little coat before I throw another color on, because I can see that looks a little darker just because it's thinner paint using a smaller brush. Okay, so now I'm going to mix up basically the same color, but this time I'm just going to add a little yellow into it. I think that'll fix it. So mixing up some more of this, just the orange color and white, quite a bit of white. And I'm gonna take a little scoop of yellow and stir that in as well. Not a lot. I just want it kind of a more tannish color. So now it's got more of a yellow hue to it. Before it looked kind of pink, if you can see the difference. And that looks more sand-like to me. I'm just gonna do another coat. I'm just using my smaller brush. Now that I have the majority covered, this brush is just fine. I think probably one more coat just for good measure. I can still see a little bit of the wood showing through, so I'm gonna blow it dry. Oh, and I just realized that I need to paint the sand in my bucket too, so that's gonna be a few coats behind. Just gonna go ahead and use the same color that I've got going on my final layers here. And this is gonna take a few coats just like the rest. Sorry, we should have been doing this the same time as the other. Just make sure you get in that pencil line. That white is a China marker. Just make sure you get that covered on your outside edge. You don't want that showing. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in and do final coat in this bottom area. And that's doing a fine job. The only thing about painting on wood, I love it, but you do need to really layer on that paint to get good coverage, because it's, in this case, the stain is a dark stain, so you gotta block out that dark color. All right, I'm gonna get my bucket of sand here, another coat. Probably gonna need a few more coats so it matches the rest. Blow that dry. Paint it again. Okay. One more time and then I'll be good. All right, now let's move on. Next, I'm going to do the beard, and that's just gonna be white for now. And this, again, is gonna take several coats. Sorry. Overall, this painting isn't terribly difficult. It's very time consuming because you have a lot of layers of paint to put on. Just get my brush cleaned out. I'm gonna go in with my white paint. And this is important. You need to, because we're going to be making him kind of fluffy. So using the side of my brush and some white paint, I'm going to come in and just give him little furs. And you need to do this in the first round. Otherwise, if you come in and just go on that nice smooth line and then try to go in later and put the hairs on, you're gonna see that distinct line and then just weird brush strokes sticking out the side. So keep all your paint layers the same. So I'll come in, start with my white. And I'm just gonna flick, just so he has kind of a furry edge. And it's nice thin paint. We'll just work in layers like we did down here. I got this knot here. He's gonna take a little extra paint just to get in all those little holes. His nose is getting a little misshapen, but that's okay. I can fix that up when I actually paint the nose. Going around the ball, around his hand. Now be careful around the little toes. There's my edge here. Can't really see it too good. Careful around your stand. You can always touch that up. Another quick little coat there. Let's see, right around this bucket. He does have a little fur down here. So I'm not really gonna worry about the space between the toes, just at the tops around the curves of those little circles. I'm gonna figure out the rest later. Not sure really, because there's going to be that little gap. I think we're just going to end up making the toes a little bit bigger so they just kind of smush together, and it should fill that in. We'll see how that goes. Because on my paper it's all filled in. I'm just gonna start back at the beginning. It's another layer. Start getting better coverage. Again, nice thin paint. You don't want any globs. Get it all spread out. After we get a few coats, it will start to look better. I know right now he's kind of in a sad state, but he'll get better. I'm gonna blow him dry just to make sure where I started is dry and go ahead with another coat. Just let me check, make sure I'm still recording. Oh, we're good. Wow, we're half hour in and that's all we've got done. Sorry, this is gonna be a long one, guys. Just because there's so many coats. I find this to be very relaxing though, especially when we're just filling in the basic shapes right now. Like coloring. with paint. I think I can get away with just that being my final coat because we are going to be putting some gray in there, and having those little dark areas still show is perfectly okay. So let's go ahead and do that. I guess I don't really need to clean out my brush. Oh, I forgot black on my plate. Hold on. Okay, well, we're kind of crooked, aren't we? There. All right, so I'm gonna make a light gray. I'm gonna take a little bit of black. I didn't clean out my brush. I'm gonna stir it in with white. So about like that for the first round. We wanna be able to see it, but we don't want it super dark. You can see, I'm gonna get my hand out of the way. About like that. I'm just gonna scrape the excess off. I'm just gonna come in and sketch in little lines, little furs, using the edge of my brush like I did on the outside to kind of flick in those hairs. And it's okay if you overlap in to the ball. We'll cover that later. Or the hands, that's fine. And you can have some longer ones. Go ahead and get in the hat too, the nose. That way you don't have like a weird outline of white around the edge. I'm just layering it in. If I get too much, I can always go back in with some white. So I've got my gray on. Looks kind of crazy right now, I know. I'm gonna make a little bit darker gray, adding a little bit more black into my gray. I'm gonna put a few of those in. And then I can really kind of get my edges too. I'm making it just a smidge darker. I just took a tiny bit of black and mixed that in. So it's just a smidge darker. Okay, now I'm gonna clean out my brush and just go back in with a little bit of white, kind of tame down some of those areas. Just a little bit. It's okay that it's not dry. That's fine. If it blends, that works perfectly okay. I'm just kind of going back over top. Just kind of softening some of those darker areas. This time I'm using my brush on the wide, so it's a thicker line. There. Okay, so let's move on and do the hat. Maybe we should do the nose first. Yeah, I can't really do the nose. I can do the hands. Let's do the ball. Sorry, I'm working it out. So the center of the ball here is white. We could have done that while we did the beard, probably. So just nice, smooth, even paint. This is gonna need quite a few coats, just like the beard did. And blow it dry. Blow it dry. And one more coat. Good. So this side I'm going to do yellow and this side I'm going to do red. But first, I'm going to kind of base coat them. So this one I'm going to do pink because I want white inside of my red to help block out this dark brown. And I'll do the same with this side. I'm going to use a very, very pale yellow with lots of white mixed in. And then once I achieved good coverage, I can then take the color I want it to be and do a quick coat on top, and it should look fabulous. Time consuming, but worth it. Okay, so I'm gonna make a nice pink color. Make sure I make enough to give it a few coats. A little bit of red. So there's a lot of white, a little bit of red. I'm not gonna leave it pink. This is just the base coat. Help block out that dark brown. Just take your time along the edges. So I'll go ahead and do another coat. A little tacky, I'm gonna blow it dry. Hopefully just one more and we'll be good. Okay, so before I go ahead and do that red, I'm gonna do the other side with the light yellow. So it's gonna be a lot of white and just a little bit of yellow just to tint it. My plate is kind of a hot mess already. I hold it and it drips, which kind of sucks. So I don't have room for anything. So just take a little bit of yellow, stir it in with all that white. And I'm gonna give this one a few coats as well. Another coat of yellow. Blow it dry, and one more, we should be good. One more coat. The yellow is the hardest, I think, as far as getting it good coverage. Just be patient. I'm gonna call it after this coat just so I can move on, but if you want to go ahead and do another round or two, feel free. It is your painting. You can do it however you wish. If you want to call it good after just two, that's fine as well. Okay, so So I have this little dot here, this little top of the ball, which is gonna be blue. I'm gonna do a light blue to start. This little handle is going to be red and his flip-flops are going to be red. So while I have my pink and it's nice and fresh, I might as well go in and do a primer layer on those as well with the pink. And then when I paint the ball red, I can go in and paint the other things red also. So I should have done that while I did that little section, but I don't always think ahead. Now when I paint it again, if I ever paint it again, I know this and have a better plan. So let me get a tiny brush, because these flippy flops are itty bitty and this is itty bitty. And I'm just using my pink because I'm gonna paint them red. This is just kind of my primer coat. I'm getting the white covered. I don't want that showing when my painting is finished. So, whoops. Get your white pencil line filled in. A little shaky. Sometimes get excited to get out the door and get down here and I don't grab breakfast. All I've had is coffee. And I got down here early. It's like 8 o'clock. I work best in the morning. By afternoon, I'm like, meh, I don't really feel like it. But I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right now. There's my handle, one coat. I get one coat on my flippy flops. I need to extend this one just a little. Got the bottom, and then there's this little, the little thong between the toe. It's like a little triangle. And I'll bring it right up and over top of the beard where I have it, just so I don't have any spots not covered. And I will be able to go over this a little bit with the toes also. My toes I'm gonna end up making a lot bigger, and it's gonna fill in the spaces in between. And I'm likely gonna have to outline them maybe, we'll see. Sketching it and coloring it with crayon is not exactly the same as painting. We'll figure it out. I'm making sure that they run into each other so there's no gap in between. So it's okay if they overlap. I just don't want to have wood showing. And get the little triangle shape again. And I'm going to do my handle of my shovel again. Blow it dry. 1 or 2 more coats. actually prefer it to be these pastel colors. You can absolutely leave them this way. I would maybe do an extra coat. But I mean, I don't mind the pastel, but he's at the beach. I want it bright colors and sunshiny. And there's no actual sun, but when I think of the beach, I think of bright colors. People out there and all their crazy swimsuits and the towels, all the beach toys. You gotta have fun, bright colors. All right, I'm gonna do that little spot of light blue. A lot of white. Let me get up a little blob here, and then a little blue stirred in. So again, it's lots of white, a little bit of the color we're gonna be painting it, just to block out the brown from the stain. I'm gonna fix my curve here. It got a little weird at the top. Try to round it back out. Okay. Let's go in and do, well, we need another coat of that. So let's finish that. Making sure it's good and dry before another coat. I don't need it peeling my first coat off. Good enough. Now let's do the red, since that's the part we have the most of. Do the ball, the flip-flops, and the shovel handle. And I'm gonna just use plain red paint. I'll go right over top of that pink. So I'm using my smaller brush. And do the handle first. How nice and bright that is. Now if we just painted that red on the wood, you wouldn't hardly see it. So even if you like slop a little, it doesn't really show up. It just kind of looks like a shadow along the edge, which is kind of cool. Probably does need one more coat. I'm gonna get the flip-flops, and then I'll do maybe a bigger brush to be able to fill in this. We'll see. And the ball. Try to be very careful on the white edge because that is not going to cover well if I mess up. Same on the beard. I feel like we are probably gonna put some sort of a little outline around this maybe, and that will help tidy up any messy edges. As I try to do it in a way that the whole thing is, like right now, obviously it's got some issues, but when we get the final touches on, I try to do things that would maybe hide any imperfections. All right, I'm gonna blow dry my red, do another coat, and that should be perfect. I just have tiny bits of paint on my brush. This is just this little area. You can always get more paint. It's hard when you get too much on there and then you got big globs. All right, got my red done. That looks nice. I'm gonna do my yellow. Just gonna do bright yellow right on top of that. I'm gonna get the red thing down on my brush really well. Just some yellow here. Brighten that bad boy up. Oops, I best be careful. Dragging my hand down there. Thankfully it's dry. I had a red mess everywhere. Got my yellow, and then let's do the blue. I think I can use my little brush, should be fine. Just gonna put the blue right on there. All right, beach ball complete. Probably gonna have outlines on it later, but we're just getting all the basic first coat of everything in. Well, how far? We're a little over an hour in. We got lots to go. Let's do Starfish and the bucket. That way we can have that bottom part pretty much complete other than some details. For the bucket, I'm going to do a nice bright green. Get my brush cleaned out. Let's do a little bit of blue, just a tiny bit on the tip of my brush here. And I'm gonna stir in with a lot of yellow. And then I'm going to add a lot of white. So right now it's very yellowy. But I can add a little bit more blue to that so it's more green. I mean, it's green and it's just very yellow green. So a little bit more blue. Get that stirred in. Doesn't take much. So there we've got this nice limey green. Hopefully you can see. I'm just gonna go in and get this whole bucket painted. And again, it's going to need several coats. I'm gonna paint the rim separate because it'll help me see that line. Even though it's all gonna be painted the same color, my brush stroke will help me see that line. Ugh, I got paint all over my hands. I might have to adjust some of my lines. My sketching isn't always perfect. I want to go right over this little handle thing. But when I do the bottom part, I'm gonna leave a little gap around the edge so I can see it. And I'll just have that little bit to connect, which will be easy. My edge here keeps getting weird. Let's get a little wider and a little wider. So when I come down here, I'm gonna kind of just straddle the line for the handle. So on the other side of it, I'll show you. So I've painted right up next to it there. Same as I did here. I just left a little gap. Doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be so you know where it is. You don't want your gap thick, because then your handle will have to be thick to cover it. You want it very thin. I'm gonna blow it dry and give it another coat. Probably need a couple coats. Oops, went right over my handle line. That's okay. You can see most of it. I really don't need it. I'm just doing it like that to help you guys keep your line. I could just throw it in easy. I know you guys like to have a line there. It's certainly easier to just fill in this whole bucket and not have to worry about that handle line. A little less time consuming. And one more coat. I think we'll be good. At this point, since the handles missed the first few coats, I can actually go right over top of it and it still shows. We got a bucket, and let's do the starfish. I'm gonna make a very pinkish purple, which is purple with a little bit more red in it than blue. So it's got more of a magenta kind of fuchsia purpliness to it. I'm gonna start by just making a really bright pink. So I just added more red to my previous pink. Very bright, very bright, very bright. Then I'll just slowly start stirring in blue until it has more of a purpliness to it. So about like that. Any shade of purple is fine though. I just kind of wanted this nice reddish purple. And a few coats. We're gonna get this starfish filled in. And go ahead and overlap onto the sand to make sure that you don't have any weird edges. I should probably be using a smaller brush. I like a bigger brush because it goes faster and you get better coverage. So I try to use big brush when possible. This color covers that wood quite nicely. So I'm just going in with a quick second coat and I should be good. Didn't really wait for it to dry, but it's not to the point where it's sticky and gross, so I'm safe. Okay, let's go back to Mr. Gnome. We're going to do hands, nose, toes. We're going to make a fleshy color. It's basically the sand color that we did originally. It's more of that pinkish hue before we added the yellow in. I'm gonna have to grab another plate because when I hold my plate up, I get a horrible mess and I don't have any more room. I'm gonna cut right across, excuse me. I should try and grab a little bit more white. Okay, I'm back, excuse me. So I'm using a medium-sized brush for the nose and the hands. I'm probably gonna need a smaller one for the toes, but I'm gonna get my color mixed up with this brush. So I got white on a clean plate just because mine's a hot mess. And here I've just taken a scoop of the burnt orange color, and I'm just gonna take a little of that on my brush and stir it into quite a bit of this. Gonna make a nice fleshy tone. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker than what I want it to be, because I'm gonna do another layer on top with a lighter version to kind of give it a little bit of, oh, what's the word I want? Just to make it look more dimensional. So I'm gonna get the excess paint off my brush because I don't want to go in with that much paint for those little areas. So I'll just start nice and fresh. I'm gonna get the nose. And this is darker than we actually kind of want it to be at the end, but that's fine. I will show you why when we get there. And absolutely, you can be a little messy, especially on the hat, because we're gonna paint that and we can overlap. You wanna kind of get your nose to come on top of the beard. So I know my nose got a little shrunken as I worked with the beard. So at this point I can reshape it. Now he's gonna get big and big and big. Let's get that paint spread out, nice thin, no globbies. The edge I always kind of struggle with a little. Always have a little bit of a glob on my edge. So there's one coat. I will need more. Do his little hands. And again, overlap slightly so that you don't have any wood showing. And I'm gonna switch to my little brush to get those toes. Now, I'm gonna make these toes bigger than what is drawn. They're going to overlap onto each other and the little thong piece. So they're gonna look closer together. I don't want any wood showing in between. That is important. So I'm just gonna start on this side and work my way across. Gonna adjust if I need to. Make sure your big toe is your biggest toe. He got big. He got real big. Oh, they're so cute. I love these little toes. They're so cute. I'm gonna go back up with my bigger brush and do another coat on my nose and hands. And toes with my small brush. Ugh. Oh, brush just fell on my plate. Oh, in my yellow. Let's get those toes again. And I can go back up to the hands and the nose one more time. And then I'll do the lighter coat on top. So I'm just gonna do one more quick once over just to get some of those dark spots filled in better. Okay. Oh, glob. I'll blow it dry. And I'm going to make a lighter version of that very same color. So I've got not much on my plate, but that's fine because I don't need a lot of that color mixed in with my white. A little bit more scraped up. It is very, very, very light version now. I'm gonna go right on top, kind of leaving the edge. Fortunately, I've got knot there that's making it rough over here. My paint doesn't really go on too smooth. I just kind of left the edge. Do the same on the hands. and my little brush for the toes. I'm gonna leave the edge, so I'm just gonna focus on centers. Even the edges a little darker. So this one, I gotta kind of decide which one's gonna be kind of in front. So this one, since it's the one I'm doing second. There's his little toes. Onto the hat. Soon we'll have all the base in and we can do the fun part. Like all the detail-y stuff that really make it stand out. But he's getting there. He's starting to look super cute. I'm gonna do the hat. I'm gonna mix blue and turquoise with some white. My plate is a hot mess. My towel is a hot mess. Okay, so I have 2 plates now going. I'm gonna get the colors on this one. Turquoise. We got blue. My handle is covered in yellow paint, which is a nightmare. I'm gonna move on with my life. So I've got some blue on my plate, turquoise on my plate. I'm just gonna stir blue and turquoise together. Maybe about like that. And I wanna add quite a bit of white. I'm just gonna go in and get that hat painted. Again, it's gonna take a couple coats. Make sure you get your edges covered where that white line is. You can do a different color hat. It doesn't matter what color hat you do. I just like the blue, the green, and the purple. I think those colors look nice. We got kind of our primary going on in here, and then we got some secondary-ish colors. I mean, blue isn't secondary, but it's kind of a greenish blue. I really probably should use a different brush. I'm getting mad sloppy here. It just feels so much better. Top bit. Okay, I'm gonna switch brushes now. clean up my edges a little bit. Same color, smaller brush. I can get that. I got pencil showing still. And I can come down here. Better blow it dry. It's getting a little tacky. Try to get this hat second coat on. I need a little break. Unfortunately, I can't just pause the video and resume it. I'm gonna have to upload in 2 pieces. It is fine. I'll just do part 1 and part 2. But I definitely need a break. I've been standing here for an hour and a half. My eyes are crossing, and it's always a good idea when you feel like you need a break, especially from painting, that you just go give yourself a break. Otherwise, you're gonna start doing things that you're not happy with and get frustrated, and then you're not gonna like your painting. So, if you need a break, step away. You can always come back later. Well, I've got all my base coat stuff on. I'm just scraping this up on the paint. Okay, so I'm gonna finish the hat with like the highlights and stuff because I want my paint wet. So on this side of the hat, we're gonna make it lighter. And I want nice wet paint over here. So I'll make sure you get nice wet paint on this side of your hat. Let you kind of remember where your line is. Okay, so I'm just gonna scrape off the paint on my brush. I'm gonna take a little white with whatever's on my brush, and on this side, I'm just gonna swoop it over, blend it with that wet paint. So this side of the hat is a little bit lighter. Same with this. Swoop it from the left side to the right, just back and forth with my brush. Got a little sloppy there. I think we're gonna do like quick outlining things though to help with our edges. A little bit more white. I want this to be distinctly lighter than the other side. Pretend like the sun is hitting right here. If you get too much on, you can always take more of your original like turquoisey blue color. I want the top of the hat. I'm gonna leave kind of the edge and like the rim. I can't right now, I'm sorry. I'm videoing. Oh, geez. Okay, hang on. I'm sorry, guys. Someone's at my door. I can't hear you. I'm sorry, I'm doing a video right now, so I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can just talk briefly.
Oh, I wanted to come and look at your paintings.
You can come look, just look at me.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Give everybody a chance to catch up this way. So if you hear me rambling on about it, it's because I'm just teaching in the video.
Oh.
Since I do it online now, people can't come in because of, you know, the virus. All right, so I've got this up here. Doing a little white just to lighten this part. Okay. Maybe just a little bit more. Oops, I ended up getting blue. So, about like that. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, got the hat done. And I do think we'll do part 1 and part 2, so I'm gonna pause ya and look for the second video. Should be right, I'll link it right next to the other one. So no problems. All right, see you in a few.